Hello, thanks for inviting me as well. So I'd like to spend a short session, and if there's one thing I'd like you to take out of this session is that speed matters. Let's start with that. Okay, so for live video, I guess courtesy of our marketing department at this late hour, let me talk a bit about speed. And let me start with a story, which is a true story about a few years back when Google was still younger. There was a question kind of coming up about how many results should we have on the result page. And as typically we had 10 results, and there were some people asked around, how many results would you like to have? And most people said, well, between 10, 20, and 30, they'd prefer 30, which you don't lose anything, right? Now, in the best tradition of Google, it is we don't really typically incorporate new changes without trying to experiment with them, because typically you don't know what you don't know. So we experimented, and people were quite surprised to find out that actually when increasing the number of results, actually people searched less. So they asked for a feature. Once introducing the feature, actually it turned out that they were using the search less than that. And actually when looking into what was the reason for that, it turned out that actually adding 30 results instead of 10 makes the refresh time of the page a little slower. Well, and actually you can see that it was actually almost doubling the time, and actually that a little slower made people use it less, even though perhaps it was not noticeable for many of them. And then there was some experiment conducted to look into what happens if you add a little time of delay to returning a page, less than half a second extra. And it turned out that if we do that, then actually people do search less, even if they're not aware that they're under experiment. They just have slightly less user experience. So the answer, the realization was that speed matters even when it's not exactly noticeable, even if you don't have this time watch. Some of you may remember that from some other applications of waiting for something to happen. Today we don't, but even those milliseconds matter. So speed, it turns out, matters to everybody, and it turns out to be the single most important feature in any application, if you think about it. Because we look into various applications to add to, various features to add to applications. Typically, any feature that we add is good for some of our users. If there's any feature which is ubiquitous, it's good for all users, it's about speed, because it turns out that speed matters to everybody. So that's kind of one realization on one aspect of speed. And a lot of what we do, try to do in Google, is really designing for speed. That's a primary question that we ask always about introducing new feature, new product. How fast does it work? Is it the kind of user experience that we think our users would like to have? If we add something, do we compromise on anything? Because user experience is a key, especially today. People are more and more impatient about using whatever they do. So with that, actually, when Chrome went out, it was one of its kind of features it was best known for, its speed. And some of you may have seen the comparisons between the others. And actually, now there's a Chrome 5. It's pretty. It's like the story about that champion, sprinter, who starts his 100-meter dash, full speed and then accelerates all the time, right? So it turns out that actually the speed of Chrome more than doubled since its initiation. Now, of course, that's one example of speed, but just to give a few other aspects. When we're talking about speed, it's about getting access to the information or to the application and having freshness and the ways in which we interact and get these kind of applications. So let me highlight a few examples for that. One is Caffeine, which is our new index for Google. That's kind of a new way to collect the information out there in the web. Just in terms of numbers, we're talking here about sometimes getting refresh from in hours instead of days or instead of weeks. It's about scanning the amount of information which is pretty humongous on every second in parallel. Many thousands of pages are scanned, and pages today are more complex than they used to be in the past. So that's one example. We try now to incorporate into search results things which are more real time. So for example, that's a true story about an earthquake which happened 10:10, earthquake happened, 10:11, starting to have some signals on the website. 10:12, the real-time one box triggers. So the one box is the one which is up there. You start seeing some information, and you start getting some real-time results, some of them picked from Twitter and other microblogs. So you can see that today the spread of information is, obviously that's part of the subject discussed in this conference. Getting access to this information is more and more expected. You are expecting when you search for something to get the latest and freshest information. Similarly, there was a panel about music. So today, if you search for music, people would like the instant gratification. Unfortunately, this is not available in Israel, but you can actually hear some playbacks of some of the video clips, of the music clips. If you're looking for information about a game, again, these are so-called mondial type, and to assist users to actually search for them, something like the suggest, which you start typing, you get suggestions, you actually move faster. And it's pretty amazing to see how users actually get used to these faster. And once you introduce something, the next thing is that people use it. It's, that's part of the web now. They expect more. So this notion of speed is something which is a moving target all the time. And some of you may have heard, we believe that search is really at its very beginning, just because what our expectations are for speed of data, relevance, and all that stuff are moving all the time. By the way, guessing what you try to type is, in this case, for example, you look for restaurants, you do it from Israel, from this area, then you can instantly hit the click and do that. Previous session was about trending information. So again, becoming increasingly interesting to see what's hot on searches, what's hot on tweeting and other microblogs. You can see that, I think this was taken yesterday. So oil spill is still up there, but Germany and Spain is now pretty high up there in terms of discussions. And that's today's news. I guess in a week from now, probably it's going to be all news. And of course, you can see all sorts of exciting stuff using these technologies. By the way, all the three technologies I mentioned, just a quick plug to our center in Israel, all of them actually were developed in Israel. In our R&D center, we're expanding. If you have friends that are a good fit, please send them our way. We're developing these great technologies in Israel. Perhaps to finish this notion of speed about, well, if it's all about getting what we want instantly and most easily, let's think about the mobile, which is perhaps one of the growing aspects of the web today. I mean, mobile phones is really exploding under any metric. And even today, you can start using these devices to search for information, but visually, you can actually look at a landmark and get instant information about it. You can look at a wine label and get information about it. And you can even use voice to search. Actually, it's working pretty well. And just to get a glimpse into, you can actually search for where is the restaurant, and you can get search results, or you can use some amazing technology which was done in the US in this case, which is a combination of voice recognition and translation, and actually have it translated to Spanish or to Chinese, for example. So this takes only a few seconds now. Now think about the situation where this takes a split of a second. The reason why it's still more demonstration than a real-time application is exactly because of speed. Now it takes a few seconds to actually have from asking the question to get it translated. In a few years, probably it's going to be instant, and then that's a game changer all around. So with that, thank you very much.